So I've been away in Scotland at a family get together for the weekend, so let's see how the bike's looking. Oh, look at that. Exactly the same as how I left it. You know, guys, I've worked so hard on getting this mirrory finish on my front mudguard. I don't know whether I'm going to bother doing any graphics on it. There's a couple of little scratches on it in places. Do I do graphics? Right, next job. Side pods. So as you can see, these need a few more coats where they've bubbled and gotten slightly damp while they've been drying. So what you do is you get some quite fine sandpaper, wet and dry paper should I say, sorry. 600 grit or higher. What do I use? What's this? I've got some 1500 here, which is very fine. Get it wet, sand all the edges off, and then blast it with black again. So there's the first one of the two pods rubbed down with wet and dry. The reason that you use a fine grain wet and dry rather than, you know, like a 120 sandpaper like this is because you don't want to take all the paint off. Now you can see there are patches where the paint was thin or got water in it as it was drying, where you can see the primer, but there are big chunks of black, and that's what you want. You're just taking off the imperfections to put a second coat on, so you get a nice smooth finish like you can see on that piece there and those glossy pieces over there. So each of those have had about 3 coats on. These are going to have about 3 coats on. The tank's probably going to have about 10, because that's where most people are going to be looking. The fairing's probably going to have about 5 or 6 coats. The rear fender's probably going to have 5 or 6 coats as well, just to get it looking the way I want it to look. You know what, I'm getting fed up with this. Right. A word to the wise people: if you're going to be doing a repainting a bike, take the stuff off to paint it. This has literally never been off the bike. Ever. I mean, look at the state. It stinks as well. It absolutely hums. Because it's obviously got about 20 years of horse shit and all sorts of crap on it. So before I can even start stripping the terrible paint job, because you can see the original colour of the bike here, where he's just rat canned over it. He's not bothered to clean it out properly. He's just given it a quick blast with what I'm assuming is barbecue paint from the way it peels off. There's no primer, there's nothing, there's no scratching up of the surface. He's just sprayed straight over the lacquered finish. It's awful. Whereas the stuff that I've painted, it's been rubbed down and sanded and wet sanded and sanded again and then painted. And it's damn near impossible to get that paint off. It's proven to be an absolute nightmare. So there we are, nice and smoothed out with 240 grit. Then I've got to do another coat with 600 and a 1200 to make it nice and flat and smooth, ready for repriming. And then once it's been reprimed, I can paint it the gloss black, just like the stuff on there, just like the stuff over there. It's time consuming, but we're getting there. Now all we've got to do is wait for the primer to dry and we can start putting on the base coats. Right then, so that is the 3rd coat of primer on these 2 pieces. This piece I'm not too fussed about, it's not perfect, but this is the bit that goes in between the rear wheel and the fuel tank, so you're not actually really going to see most of that ever. To the point where even Yamaha didn't paint this fully out of the factory. They left the middle bit plain and they only painted the sides. So I'm going to do the whole thing just to ease my mental psychotic way of looking at things. The fairing is now repaired. You can't even see the patching work that I did on it, which is good. So that's ready for doing it in black. So we had a minor disaster in the process of painting the fairing piece. The can of paint I was using sort of exploded. The excessive amount of propellant that's gone onto the paintwork made a really weird reaction, and it's affected the base structure of the fairing itself. It's weird. So I've had to get some specialty primer, some high build primer. Other brands are available. Quite upset because it was a good finish I had on this with the original primer, and now it's very, like, that's plastic bubble under there, so I'm having to high build primer over it and sand it back to smooth, which is aggravating to say the least.
2 hours later.
So that's almost back to smooth, ready for painting, which means it's time to tackle the tins. I've already done some of the bodywork where I dropped it, refilled in that massive dent that we saw a few videos back. In the process of scuffing up and getting rid of surface rust, I found this little bit here, so I'm going to have to break the body filler out again just to get the worst of that filled in and smoothed off. But that is a video for next week, because this week I'm done. I've had a rough week mentally. I've not videoed as much as I'd like. Hopefully next week will be better. So for now, I'm the Viking. You've been awesome. See you next time.